Today as chair, we are in an interim period without a chair. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And it might be useful, since there's some new or even recurring faces in the crowd, if we could just do a quick introduction. Again, I'm Tyler Yarbrough. You want to go, and then we'll go.
Red or yellow? Okay. Hi, Cindy Harrison. I run the Greenways and Open Space Division for Metro Parks. And I'll let you all do introductions, and then I'll give you a little bit more explanation of who we've got here today.
Sandy Ewing, Council Member, District 34.
Clay Cap, Council District 6, and welcome to our new folks. So glad to have you.
Olivia Hill, Council at Large. My first job was working at Metro Parks a long time ago.
Joe Lee, resident of District 6, a community member. Thank you.
Jenny Welsh, Council Member, District 16.
Mark Deutschman, and I'm back. I served on this commission back, I think, 2012 to 2021. So it's nice to be back and nice to be able to work with this commission at this time.
I'm Kate Stevenson. My term expired about a year ago, and no one's been appointed in my place, so I'm still here, at least for today.
We've got minutes. Tyler, I'll let you do that, and then I'll get into intros.
We have minutes before us from the October 23 and December 23 meetings. Are there any, I would move their approval. Any discussion or amendments to the minutes, if you want to take a minute to review them?
Thanks for getting them out early to us, Cindy. Appreciate that.
Seeing no proposed amendments, all in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Thank you.
Great. So happy to see everyone here. I wanted to run through where we stand now with our commission members. We have, as noted, 4 reappointments. So Grant Winrow, Jeannie Nelson, Brenda Gilmore, and Tyler Yarbrough have been reappointed to the commission. Our new appointments are Mark Deutschman, who you just met, along with Joseph Lee, and then Erica Burnett just received her reappointment. So I don't think she had enough time to get this on our calendar today, but we are very happy to see you all. We do have 1 vacancy, and we also have, I'm happy to say, have filled our 4th Project Manager 3 position. Logan Elliott, who has been with the Metro Planning Commission, is joining us, and we are very excited about that. He'll start next Tuesday. Logan has worked with us closely on many developments that come through the Planning Commission process for SP approvals and rezoning. And as you know, many of those bring with them a Greenway component. So he should be able to just jump right in. And in fact, he'll be working on some of the same projects that he saw come through the planning process. So we will, you'll meet him at the next meeting.
Next item on the agenda is the public comment period, which we have at each of our commission meetings. It's my understanding that nobody has signed in for any public comments. Is that correct, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then the public comment period will stand closed then. The next item is discussion regarding nominations for new commission chairperson and vice chairperson.
So the bylaws state that the commission will elect a chair and a vice chair. Those members serve a 1-year term, and so we'll have an election every year. Ann Tidwell has retired from the commission, and she has been our past chair. So we find ourselves today, as Tyler mentioned, without an official chair. What I would recommend, and you all can discuss this, is that you come to the April meeting with nominees and hopefully ready to vote at that time. That way we're, moving forward in the way that we need to move forward. But you all, it's your decision on that, but that seems like the best way to go. Okay.
I mean, I tend to agree with that because
Yeah.
this has just been kind of sprung on us. So.
Yes, and all of us, actually, a little bit. So you need time, I think, to think about it, and I think today would be too quick. We have new members who are here for the very first time. So I will send you all some more information about what the bylaws say, and so that you'll be prepared to do that hopefully at the next meeting. Great.
Hey Cindy, I don't think I'll be able to make the next meeting, but will I have a chance to send in nominations and vote?
We actually have, that's our next item. We have several members of the commission who are not going to be here at that date. So what I would like to do in an effort to have a good vote and representation is to ask you all to consider having your meeting instead of April 10th, having it either on April 3rd or April 17th. And I will leave that up to you all today to talk about and decide. You do have the flexibility to change meeting dates.
Sure would be good if we could assemble this right now before we
Yes.
part. I know we're missing some key people, but
The vote does, we don't have, as back in COVID, we don't have the opportunity to do remote meetings. So it does have to happen here, even though we're televised, the vote has to take place in person. So I guess maybe the easiest question is, does anyone have a conflict with the 3rd or the 17th?
I have a conflict with the 17th, but the 3rd is wide open.
Okay. Anyone else have an issue? Anyone have an issue with the 3rd? Well,
I move we meet the 3rd.
Second.
Second.
No, the third, Sandy.
all right, I will send out revised calendar invites to you all with a reminder about the vote and just some information that you need to go along with that.
You want to keep going with project updates, Cindy?
Yeah, we'll start with project updates. It's going to be a little bit different today. I'm not going to bore you with me talking for an hour. We do have guests today to talk to you all about a project at 2nd and Van Buren. Let me see if I can get my map up just to show you where this project is, and I'll let them, I'll give you a little bit of an introduction, and then I'll let them take it away, but find my own password. That would be great. If you, happy to let you distribute those, thank you. So this project is 2nd and Van Buren around Cement Plant Road. So it's part of the connector to Morgan Park. It's a multifamily development coming in that will straddle the existing Greenway. It's a connector from Morgan Park and the community center over to the larger Cumberland River Greenway. Obviously we have an existing trail there and an existing easement. This project will require an amendment to that easement area. And one of the very important duties that you all have is if an amendment comes to us if an easement comes to us with a request for an amendment, you all have to approve that for it to move forward. There's a lot to think about on this one. Staff has been working with the development team and Metro Legal for a couple of years now as it's gone through the SP process. And so I'm going to let them bring you all up to date since I think it's new for almost everyone here. And so there won't be a vote today but next meeting, we'll need you all to either approve or conditions or whatever you need. You all have a copy of the original easement agreement. We're still working through some final edits on the proposed amendment, as well as we've not yet received the legal description and boundary survey. You'll have that for consideration at the next meeting. And I'll let you all take it away if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Hayes. I'm with CB Ragland Company. I'm one of the partners in this venture with Toll Brothers Apartment Living. Toll's one of the national leaders in multifamily development. We acquired the southern portion of this site in, I think it was 2020, and the northern portion just a few years ago. But as Ms. Harrison referenced, we've been working for over 3 years now on this project. We presented to the Greenways Commission first in September of 2021, the Germantown Historic Neighborhood Association in August or September of 21, worked with former council member O'Connell, now mayor on this project, to really see it come to fruition. As you can see in some of the photographs, I included a couple of photographs behind the map that just shows the existing conditions of the Greenway as it comes through our project site. There's an old industrial building, a lot of barbed wire fence, some razor wire, some great trees, a beautiful vista of some oil storage tanks that really lead to some industrial character here. So where we are, we've been working, as Cindy said, for quite some time with her team, as well as the Planning Commission to go through an SP zoning, which we've received. With Metro Water, if you walk this neighborhood, there are no sidewalks. There is no stormwater infrastructure. We'll come back with sidewalks and stormwater infrastructure around the perimeter of the site, together with hopefully a beautiful new greenway that's, I guess the easement we propose to close to double it in size. So we'll have an additional buffer, a bigger greenway, and instead of a linear greenway that's, I guess, kind of cut straight through our site, we propose to curve it just a little bit, and then to flank it on both sides with some new multifamily buildings, some really, really great site lighting and landscaping that'll enhance this kind of T intersection of the Greenway, where it extends to the west over to Morgan Park Place. And then not on your map today, there's I guess, is it a Greenway, Cindy, that runs north-south up 3rd that's a part of Metro Water? I know there's a big new park that's
Right.
Immediately to the west of us.
So our greenway runs, I guess I can point to it here on the map. The Metro Water Services portion is theirs. It has a segment of greenway through it.
But there's a lot of great stuff happening right in this immediate vicinity with Greenway, with Morgan Park Lake, or Morgan Park itself. And from, I guess, today's perspective, I think the intent was to give an update. We've been working diligently for 3 years to deal with both Greenway and water and stormwater and sidewalk and planning infrastructure. Zoning's in place. And soon we're ready to go. I think we also have draft copies of the easement, the revised easement, the legal description, all the lights, all the trees, all the plantings, and everything that you guys have been asking for.
Okay, great. And just to let you all know the process from a staff end, this ongoing, from the time that it was submitted to Planning Commission as an SP, we've entered comments and we've just had a lot of back and forth discussions, good discussions about how this should be amended and how the development would relate to the Greenway, the lighting component, which we're starting to do now on all of our urban greenways. As I mentioned, the existing easement, and I think all of our easements require a commission approval to any amendments. It also requires the park board to approve, and then ultimately Metro Council. So council members, you'll see this again in the future, assuming that it moves forward. And so it goes through all those steps. It's somewhat lengthy for good reason. These are conservation easements, it's public access, it's park space, it's transit. It's all of those things that we want to protect. And if we are amending an easement, we want to make sure that what we're getting really is more than what we have already, that it's, an improvement. And there are a lot of ways to improve this area. It's running through a industrial area that's highly redeveloping right now. So this connection is very important for all those reasons that I mentioned. We'll talk later at the end when I talk about future items that I'd like to see you all take up as a commission. We have more and more projects coming through that go through this process, not necessarily an amendment to an easement, but plans that you all need to see. And just the kind of tightening up how those are put on the agenda, how the time for those to be reviewed. We'll follow pretty much the park board's process, but it's something that we've not really had the commission weigh in on in the past because there haven't been that many. It's been manageable, but now it's quite a few coming through, and we have to respond really quickly through the process. So we want to make sure you all are involved, and we want to do it in a way that doesn't hinder development getting through their process. We only meet every other month, so we just need to talk about that at a future meeting.
Do you guys have any questions about just the easement or the process? I think we're ready to address them if there are any today, or we can come back.
I'd like to ask Cindy to just, you have a lot of details in here that both Michael and you were mentioning, but what are the implications of this? I mean, it's easy to say there's going to be more Greenway than there was before, but can you kind of give us the big implications
I will.
of this?
I'll go through my thoughts, and Michael and Quan, if y'all want to jump in. It's not a large realignment. It's in the same general area. It is an area that's pretty much undeveloped immediately around it. So being able to add the green space, being able to give access to residents who are going to be right there in the space is good. Again, it's not a wholesale dramatic change. We're not putting the Greenway on another part. We're not losing any connectivity. Many of the questions that we've addressed that I've had have been, how do the buildings relate to this trail? We have been pretty consistent, I think, in developments that are happening alongside Greenways in controlling the access to the Greenway so that we don't have, dozens of little sidewalks coming out with people moving their outdoor furniture out and blocking the pathway, doors swinging open into a Greenway. So we've had setbacks that we put in place and approved those access points. Adding the lighting is important. Making sure that the off-site connections aren't lost. All of those things have been addressed here. This particular project does have an overhead pedestrian bridge that connects the two buildings, and for those of you who've been here for a while, we've had a discussion about that in the past. I think that's still privately accessible, so that's not a bridge that takes you anywhere. It just connects two buildings and their parking garage to residents from back and forth. So there was a lot of discussion about that and what that would look like. There are some limitations to what we can do with landscaping in this area because of underground utilities. So you're going to see on the plans, there's not a whole lot of tree planting in there that we would like to have, but there's, constraints that we can't really
Greenway's built
address.
on top of a 10 or 12-foot storm sewer that drains a big portion of the basin. And I don't know how the trees were planted on top of it, but in going back through with Metro Water, they don't want trees planted on top of, even though it's, I think, 30 or 40 feet down, they don't want trees planted on top of their easement. So I think we have, we'll try to leave what we can. But you're correct. And then I guess we do have perimeter trees that'll be planted all the way around the project with the sidewalk that complies with the major collector street plan.
Michael, is there any commercial associated with this site?
There's not. And that was a big debate among our partnership, is whether commercial was really viable at this location. We didn't feel like.
Trailer-oriented development.
I know.
People stay longer, spend more, come back more often.
Who knows what happens in a year or two, Mark? We have worked really hard to activate the ground plane. So we do have a fitness center on the ground floor. We've got internal to that bike storage. We've got kind of a big public for the project, but like kind of the community amenity room on the first floor to try to really address Van Buren Street and the Greenway side. But my partners at this time didn't feel that retail was viable today here.
You're only a stone's throw from the Newhoff project, which will have a lot of retail.
And we're really excited about that. And the ability to walk there, right? As well as Mill Creek's project just down the street from us. Van Buren, the north side of Van Buren in particular, from really Mill Creek's project at first, all the way down to Third, doesn't have any sidewalk infrastructure, doesn't have stormwater infrastructure. And I have other pictures that I've shared with Cindy, and I'm happy to walk with any of you guys within a week of a storm. There was a significant amount of water that ponds, and people just walk down the middle of the street on that section from really Morgan Park Place all the way down the middle of Van Buren Street to get towards Oku and the Optimist and some of the existing restaurants. And I anticipate that's going to continue. So look, we're excited about not just the Greenway connectivity, but what we can do on Van Buren as well to really enhance the public space.
Is there a plan to put in benches, or is it possible to put in water fountains?
I don't think we have benches in our landscape plan right now. We had some fitness in the green space. I'll talk to our landscape architect and certainly to staff and see thoughts on benches.
What about water fountains then?
Does Greenways have a thought on water fountains?
We have standard details for water fountains. We do add those. Typically, they're at trailheads because they can be maintained there, and they're associated with benches and trash cans and those kind of facilities. I will say in this that I failed to mention two things. The drawings that you're looking at that this team has provided are the original, the preliminary SP approval, so it has the legislation with it. What we're looking at is now we're at the final site plan process, so we're digging into more details there. So there are certain requirements that for things that they do have to add. They can always add more, but they do have to meet certain standards there. And just know that the drawings that you're looking at here are from the preliminary SP, and I think what you'll see when we send you construction documents, the landscape plans have changed a bit. There's some minor changes that we'll send out to you. The developer, I'm sorry.
I'll check on the water fountains. I'm not a mechanical plumbing engineer, civil engineer, but I'll certainly check.
Along with designing and constructing the Greenway to Metro standards, the Greenway will be managed by this project in perpetuity. So if the project development sells, it runs with the land, as does the easement. So there's that.
And I think to that point, like, it's a really central focus, as you can see from some of the pictures, like, right, we didn't try to face all of our units toward the gas tanks. Right, we tried to design really pretty buildings and have, units that kind of looked over the Greenway, over kind of that public space, and looked across at each other. And so to that point, I mean, it will be a high focus for us or any successor in perpetuity. We couldn't really have, it wouldn't be a viable project if you were looking down at chain link fence and overgrown weeds and, you know, what sometimes happens today.
I'm assuming all lighting will be green, dark sky compliant?
It's required by code.
Yeah, I just wanted to make absolutely sure.
Yes.
I hate to assume.
Yeah.
I wanted to affirm just one of the other things you said. You know, one of the things that in our wish list is that we not have just the backs of buildings to our greenways. That this whole modern thought of people not going by blank buildings. And so I like that people will see people on their bikes inside in the wintertime or, some of that, and that I haven't seen the exact design of your buildings, but I'm assuming from what you said that residents are facing that greenway and it's not.
To the best of our ability, yes. There is a notch that you'll see in our site plan where there is a very small parcel that we thought we bought, that transferred from seller to seller to seller. And when we ran through title insurance, there is a cloud on title from the mid-1800s with a very small rail spur that serviced a former H.G. Hill warehouse 4 blocks to the west. That other portion has all been abandoned. We are trying to acquire it. It's been slow. So there is a bit of a wall on that property line, but the vast majority of, and you can see maybe some,
Which,
the last page of the presentation shows units here and here all facing the Greenway. This is that little CSX tract. So I do have a wall that is on the side of, that's on the property line that's required by code.
thank you for your thoroughness. The vast majority would have done. Thank you.
I guess one other thing to emphasize is these projects that are built and designed and built and maintained by development is a great portion of the work that we do as staff. We have our capital projects and then we have these projects. So they're Metro Greenways. It is public open space. They come with easements that run in perpetuity. But it is, it's a very, I think we started, as you mentioned, 2021 in the process, working with Planning Commission. And I think it's important to note that you all are part of that process, especially council members. And it takes us probably as much oversight maybe as our own capital projects do. And it's a benefit to the city. They're not capital dollars or maintenance, particularly maintenance operating dollars that have to be expended. So we need both, and the improved sidewalk connectivity, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, how to get to the greenways, because greenways don't have the real estate that street right-of-ways have, and we want to be away from streets, a more, a safer, maybe less stressful situation for trail users than being alongside a street, and the conservation and park component of what greenways are. But we do need the bike lanes and sidewalks to make the whole system work. So those additions to this are important also for the city. It might be helpful if you all just noted in the plans that one area where the buildings don't face it, so everybody understands that. We'll get from you all the legal description and boundary survey, which I'm hearing you have ready. I will send you all the updated, amended easement agreement. That is what you're voting on when we get those final edits made. And then the construction documents that will show you the landscaping. And you may or may not be used to looking at construction documents. That's okay. You can call me with questions. I think what you've seen today is pretty close to what will be final with some minor changes and a little more detail. Anything else, you all?
I think that's got it. And I'll extend the offer again. If anybody does want to go walk the Greenway and walk the site and stand there and talk about it, I'd be delighted to meet you, as the weather is beautiful day today.
Yeah, I would caution, and I'm not the expert on how you all meet together, but we do have to follow some rules about that. But we could certainly, if
Have a field trip, bro.
yeah, if you're not familiar with the area, I can let you know where it is, and I can answer questions for you. If you have questions, you can filter those through me, and I'll send them on to the development team and disseminate it that way. Just keep it in mind that in April, we'll be looking at this.
Appreciate your
Ed,
time.
do you
today.
have anything, since you're, this is a planning commission originated process, anything that I've forgotten to mention or that should be mentioned?
No, and I apologize, I came in during the middle of the presentation, but from the parts that I captured, it seems to be very thorough. I just know it's what I feel will be one of those really solid examples of having a development team working very closely hand in hand, creating really good examples, which makes it a lot easier for our development community to have points of reference. And so again, when you have something that has a little hair on it and a little sticky, but found really good solutions, I think they make for great examples for us going forward.
Thank you. All right. We'll continue to wrap up the loose ends. So I promised that I wouldn't sit here and talk about the big picture that I gave you in December, so I'm going to try to stick with that at the end, though. If you have questions about ongoing projects, I'll certainly try to answer those. I did want, new year, new commission members, we'll be electing a new chair. I really want us to start thinking, new mayor, lots of new things, and look forward here on what the commission can be involved in, and just wanted to touch on a few items. The department, I think will be updating Plan to Play, the parks and open green space, Greenway and open space master plan. The current Plan to Play certainly has greenways in it. In the past, we've had kind of a subset within the plan that focuses in one space on greenways and open space. We are intending for this update to kind of take us back to that. Some of you, I think, were involved in the original Plan to Play that was completed and presented in 2017. The commission was very active in voicing and making sure that the plan included priorities for the division, and you can find that in the plan. So you all will be an important part of that, and we'll figure out how to have that meeting when we begin the community engagement. We're waiting on funding for the Plan to Play up to date. So that's capital funding. It's not been, we're not ready to go yet with that. But you'll be a big part of that. So we want to think about what are greenways now. I mean, they're still the same, but they're being developed at a faster pace. We're seeing a lot of development happening alongside greenways. We know that we have deficit in open space in the city, and we want to make sure that is emphasized in Plan to Play. All of the connectivity that happens. So all those things you all will be a part of that. So I would just ask you to be thinking about what you want for the Greenway system going forward. And we'll talk about what the division wants as well and envisions.
Cindy, I hate to interrupt because
Please
you're probably
do.
going on to another topic,
No,
but.
stop me.
Can you give us sort of a sense of when the plan to play update, what the course of that, when it might be ready?
We think it'll take a year, and as part of that, rolled into that will be the data collection that we've talked about for Greenways. We don't have a set of data on users. That's really important for grants, for different kinds of scoring that happens for parks, for funding, all those things. Looking at hopefully a year-long survey across the system, who's using it, how are they using it, where are they going, what are the issues, are there safety issues, are there maintenance issues, all of those things. And I would see us, going forward from that in the future, updating that periodically. So I think that's really important. We get those questions. How many people use the Richland Creek Greenway? A lot. But, that's, other than some spot checks that we've done, I don't have that information. And I think I said we expect it to be a year-long process. So as soon as we have the funding for that and secure our contract with a consultant, that process will begin.
I'm also curious about is there some urgency if there is to be a transit referendum about seeing if there's possibility of securing some of those dollars to build maybe to transit stops or, some of the greenways that will be impacted by a transit referendum?
Mm-hmm. I know that the referendum team is looking at that. And in addition to the specific referendum group, I will be participating along with the planning department, NDOT, MTA, the mayor's office in a new technical advisory committee that's looking very specifically at connections across the city, moving people around outside of cars. And for us, that's a really specific look at how do we connect people to trailheads? How do you get off a bus, and then how do you get to a greenway? And where are the holes there with sidewalks and bike lanes, and are there considerations as we're developing greenways to complementing that and moving that forward. So again, we don't condemn land. We typically are not in the public street right of way, although it happens to allow us to make the greenway connections that we're trying to do. But for the most part, that's bike lanes and sidewalks, and that's why it's so important that those also are being developed across the city. And we want to get people out onto a park and enjoying some green space and all the benefits that come with that.
Are there also I know that there was in the last plan to play, it seemed as if 85% of the people who said what they were saying, what do they like best about parks, and 85% of the people said greenways. And it seemed as if Megan Berry asked us to come back and really focus on that. Are there some recommendations from the past plan to play that can be brought to light faster? I mean, it seemed like maybe there were some good recommendations. Are there some things that we can see from the last one that are in the plan now that we'll be looking at as we update?
I can tell you that we'll look at holistically at plan to play and what was, put forward in 2017. It's a complete look at that and update. We're certainly looking at an implementation plan that will also be a focus of this update. So I think that answers your question there. How do we fund? What other funding mechanisms are there? Are there other partnerships? And we've tried really hard, and I think we're pretty successful on the partnerships like you saw today in moving those forward. We don't condemn property. Again, we have to have the space to put a greenway. So that means open space dollars, donations, all the different avenues that we have for either owning land or acquiring easements. We need multiple funding streams and creative ways to acquire that land. So that will be part of that update. Any other questions about that? So again, just kind of emphasizing the role that the division has in that we are actively at the table. We're in communication with Metro Water Services and NDOT and the Planning Department on a daily, weekly basis. We all operate together along with Metro Legal in moving our plans forward. This technical advisory committee, certainly having us there with the rest of the group, is going to continue to move our goals forward. All right, I'll move on to just a couple other things. We need to have an orientation for all of our new members. We haven't done that yet. I'll reach out with you all and we'll find a date to do that and sit down and really do a deep dive into the history and to what all you want to do and what the bylaws set up for you all to do. And your goals, I'm very interested in future agenda items that you all would like to have, what your concerns are, what you would like to see us working on for the division. That includes developing a much more robust policy for acquiring the open space and getting greenways built. I think like I said, we're doing pretty well with the tools that we have, but we need more. We do, I think, a good job working with individual developers, but there's not a whole lot that they're absolutely required to do by policy. A lot of it is really the fact that greenways are so popular and that they do provide an economic benefit to the city and the development that's happening. That's been successful. We can do better, and we need to work on that policy, and that'll be a multi-departmental effort, and you all will be a part of that. We need to revisit our operating hours on some of our greenways because, especially in the urban core, if someone is traveling on that greenway and it's 5 o'clock at night in wintertime, typically our greenways are noted dawn to dusk as far as operating hours. We don't fence our greenways in. We need to accommodate the fact that they need to be open later. And we're already doing that with lighting. We're developing lighting standards and operating manual for lighting across the greenway system. Some areas don't need to be lit, so we're looking at that, and you all need to be part of that decision-making process. Security issues, growing city, we're seeing security issues all around the city. We need to talk about that and what you all see and what you would like to address so that we can move those initiatives forward with the park board and with the department and with the council. And then open space acquisition. We need to keep up with the demands and standards that we should have as a city for open space and public access. So think about that. Let's talk about, if you can come in April with ideas about that. We can also talk about that at an orientation meeting. Focusing on what you all have the ability and to do through the ordinance that you have in the bylaws.
Can I just throw in a couple of other things?
Please do.
I'd like to be oriented on, so maybe a general invitation wouldn't be a bad idea.
Sure, everyone is welcome. That's true.
But I'm interested at some point in what the division's strategic plan or strategic goals are for the next year or 2 years, however you want to say it, so we know where we've gotten, and there are lots of reasons you can't get where you set out, but that's one thing. What was the other thing that went with that? It'll come to me in a minute.
Okay.
It was brilliant, but I forgot.
I'm sure it was. Yes, that's something that we could address in a meeting, and
Here it is, and this is really a part of that. How you set your priorities of time spent on projects, et cetera, so.
Right, yes, we can definitely do that. And I'll just very quickly note that we have areas in the city that are underserved. We're trying to change that. We have areas that are rapidly developing, and we need to make sure we're securing space in those areas. We have conservation needs, outside of the city in terms of some of our greenways that are more suburban and rural, and finishing out those water-based trails. But we can dig into that at a separate meeting. I can let you all know how we look at that, making those priorities. All right, I think we can
Does that
move on to the next
conclude
item. Yeah.
your report? Okay, thank you. Amy, the Greenways for Nashville. Report, please.
So I've got a chance to say hello to the new faces already, and just want to iterate that I am representing Greenways for Nashville, and so we are the separate nonprofit friends group to the Greenways and Open Space Division, and we have been around almost as long as the Greenways Commission has, so we're celebrating 30 years as the nonprofit friends group and have not personally, I've certainly observed as a citizen the growth in the system from not in my backyard to nearly 100 miles, and the passion and obviously the interest and the vision that brings you all to this room. So our role largely and how we prioritize our time is educating the public. And the public is growing. As we know, Davidson County is growing rapidly, but there are also a lot of folks here. The blessing and the curse of COVID was that COVID was a huge eye-opener for our city. But it also helped, I think, us realize how many people didn't realize, they had a system of parks, linear parks, to be physically active for whatever reason. And there are many different reasons. So whether it's health, wellness, recreation, and getting around, connecting, or a sense of community because they're isolated. So all those things are a priority, and we definitely spend our time meeting people where they are and helping them recognize what they have in their backyard and creating that curiosity. We have at the door on the way out, feel free to please grab supplies, and certainly any of the council people, if you'd like a stack, we can get you sent on your way if you have a constituent meeting. But there is a system map, and again, it's a collaborative project, but we do this work and we distribute this in the community. So we have system maps, we have the annual report that we do, and now you all should have this bumper sticker on your car. Take it, help yourself. If you will, the new folks, I know I can get the public contact information. I will add you to our outreach. We do a monthly e-newsletter. That's going to probably be the meatiest piece of current information. And then, of course, our socials and our website. Brand new website. Please go explore greenwaysfornashville.org, and especially the Greenway segments. You'll see the pictures and the individual maps, and click around. Reach out to me if you have feedback. And we are, we're refining it quite a bit. Dates. I would love to encourage you all to put April 6th on your calendar. That is, I believe, the 18th annual Richland Creek Run, a community-born fun 5-mile run walk. It's got a 1-mile segment, and the proceeds, it is our event, and we expect about 600 Greenway lovers to join us again this year. It's got a great after party, so come walk a mile, walk 5 miles, run, and that is a wonderful friend raiser, and the proceeds benefit the entire system. It is on Richland Creek because that is the neighborhoods that 17 years ago. That's where they started, and we work with an active committee there. The other dates, and you'll catch all this in our e-blast, are April 24th to 28th. And that's an opportunity to decorate your home with original artwork created by the Chestnut Group, which is a plein air painting nonprofit who shares our mission of conservation. And they are going to have an art show and sale, and the proceeds from those pieces will benefit Greenways for Nashville. And that will be in the McCabe Golf Clubhouse is physically where the paintings are, but they are painting all over the city. So you'll probably find an icon or a spot that is very special to you in that sale. It's not going to be all just Richland Creek. So that's a free thing, and love you to come really put your walls into Greenway mode. They're beautiful, talented painters, so watch for that. Any questions of Greenways for Nashville? And again, great to see y'all. It's a beautiful sunny day. And if you need a little time to vent, there's a Greenway right outside the door, and we use it all the time. I probably shouldn't have said vent. I meant relax. Wrong word. I just meant vent, your enthusiasm. Oops. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Amy. I see a couple of representatives from Metro departments. Are there reports today to be offered?
Tom?
Tom Palco, Metro Water, stormwater all day, every day. Nothing to report other than we continue to buy houses on Richland Creek and Mill Creek, and we've been talking to Cindy about whether those properties will remain as Metro Water Services, and we cut the grass at our cost, or whether they transfer over to Metro Parks ownership and have a little more control over them, whatever. But other than that, I'm just here to help best I can. Thank you.
Did you say you're buying homes on Browns Creek and Mill Creek?
Right now, we're on Richland Creek.
Oh, Richland Creek,
across
okay.
from what is England Park, Delray Drive. We're working through the Corps of Engineers right now, and some of the houses that were, as you know, everything out there, like
Flooded
3 rows
pretty
of
good,
houses,
yeah.
everybody flooded. And so we got all the ones along the creek. We got like 36 houses in a row, which is now England Park. And we're starting to buy the ones on the other side of the creek. Again, it's every time we buy a house, it's fair market value, it's willing seller. We don't condemn, kind of what Cindy says. We have plenty of people that want to participate, and we usually run out of money before we run out of interest. So that's always been our goal. But we do have we're finishing up project on 7 Mile Creek, Mill Creek, and we're just starting on, again, about halfway through Richland Creek.
Any particular locations on Mill Creek where you're buying?
Right now, we're finishing up. We just bought a couple more on Wimpole.
Oh, yeah. That's a nice little greenway section.
It's a nice little greenway, and we've had, I tell everybody, it took us 5 or 6 opportunities to go in there, and we'd buy a few and buy a few and buy a few, and we were able to get all of them in a row. We're very patient when it comes to, we try to be opportunistic, and May 2010 or May 20, April, March 21, when we had the flood on Richland, on 7 Mile Creek, that really accelerated the project we were doing down there with the Corps of Engineers, and accumulated quite a few properties down there. So
Have you guys started looking at Browns Creek, future greenway?
we've started looking at Browns Creek, and again, the way the Corps of Engineers does it, the way they do their funding is a mystery to me, and but we are in a position now where they have identified, they have to go through a process to see if there's public interest in order to do a project like this. And so they've identified houses on Browns Creek, houses on Whites Creek. Those are not funded yet through the Corps, and we haven't started those yet, but there is a number of houses that we'd like to move on into Browns Creek, and then also in Whites Creek whenever everybody's funding aligns and we're ready to go. So, very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And as a reminder, 2 of our current capital projects are involve the work that Tom has done in those volunteer buyouts. The 440 Greenway connection from Sevier Park to Browns Creek Park, The trail and that property for Browns Creek Park was part of that program. And the project that we're beginning to initiate between the Hartman Community Center on Whites Creek over to Buena Vista is, we'll cross flood buyout property there. And then he's mentioned a few others that we've done in the past, Mill Creek at Wimpole and Whitsett Park and Richland Creek at England Park. All of those, the great benefit to us is this is land that we don't have to pay for. And it does get transferred over to parks. And most of them are, once the homes are removed, because a lot of these are older neighborhoods, I guess most of them are, a lot of mature trees, and it just has a park-like look once the buildings are removed. So it's very natural to bring a greenway through those areas. So thank you for all your work. That's it.
No further business,
Uh,
Cindy?
Just a reminder, I'll send out a revised calendar invite. Our next meeting is April 3rd. And come ready to talk about the easement revision and election of chair and vice chair.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further business, I move we adjourn. All right.
Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.